Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in. It's another edition of JJ and Alex. It is a Tuesday edition of JJ and Alex. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. He's JJ. I'm Alex. What's going on, JJ? Everything good?
It's great. It's Big 12 week.
But I noticed you're going full Ole Miss colors with your TV outfit today. Do we call it an outfit?
Jackson Dart.
Do we call it an outfit? Is that what we do? Look, it is. It's full on a nod to Jackson Dart and his.
I wish
Heisman.
I was that thoughtful.
It's
prepared.
But you know what?
Plan my outfits that way. I just throw stuff on. That's in the closet.
It does work. Well, and you got your color wheel. You got certain colors you can. And the Ole Miss light blue with the red and the white. It all works, man.
I'm hotty toddy today.
You are hotty toddy. You know what you could do? You could show up at one of those Southern get-togethers with one of those with like a with some of those. What are those? What's that material called with the pants? That they have like the linen or like those like white pants that are like
the men wear?
Yeah. Slacks.
You got me.
White slacks.
Do they drink like fruity fancy drinks?
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
Mint juleps.
They usually have a bow tie, and their dad's a lawyer in the South. Your Honor, I'm just a simple man. I assume everybody is Foghorn Leghorn down in the South.
I swear.
You think I care?
You think I care? So look, yeah. Are those trees back in full bloom again, or that one is dead? We know the one died.
Rest in peace.
I wonder if they brought the other trees back. Bottom line is JJ is a Big 12 guy, but he's dressed up in SEC colors. Anybody in the
Roll down tide.
Anybody in the Big 12 with that color scheme?
Almost Kansas, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably Kansas is the closest.
That's the closest
you would get to this.
Yeah, because Kansas.
This is like the Houston Oilers, right?
Oh yeah, it is. It's that baby blue.
Houston Oilers.
Don't do
Houston
it.
Oilers.
Don't tempt Jeremy. You know it's too early in the show to get. Oh, look out, football. What is it?
Look out, football. Here we come.
Yeah, look out the whole sport of football. Bo, bo, bo. Then it just sounds like a chubby guy's walking down the street.
Playing a tuba.
Bo, bo, bo.
Is there a rule that you have to be overweight?
Football team to play tuba.
How come you have to be overweight to play the tuba?
No, people are like, it's because you got to carry them. They're called sousaphones, by the way, the big ones that you have to carry. Some guy's like, what did you do when you're... Oh, did you hear me? I played snare on that session band situation with the Houston Oilers fight song. So dumb. But at the same time, I would encourage all NFL teams to get a band and get a fight song. I think we need that.
I want the Houston Oilers back. Can the
Jeremy
Titans and Texans work out some kind of trade? Because the Houston Texans is the dumbest
I know.
mascot in all of the NFL.
Okay, so
it's dumber than the Browns.
What you need to do is, the Browns have a history, right? Yeah, what's the elf? I don't know what's going on with that. Is he a Keebler? Is it a Keebler situation?
It's creepy, man.
Is it the Keebler family that started the Browns? Why is that guy?
It's got some elf making fudge. What is this guy?
I don't get it. Because he's wearing a Christmas hat, right? And he's got pointy ears. Like he's full on straight out of Christmas.
Evil.
But he's their midfield logo this year. That elf on the shelf is their freaking mascot at the middle of the field this year.
There's no place in the NFL for an elf on the shelf.
Jeremy goes, I have some info. Well, yeah. Who is it?
I did a little Googling.
Yeah, what is it? Wait, who is it?
Well, 1946, as part of the founding of the team, Art Modell, the owner, disliked it.
So he didn't like the elf.
No.
So they had to wait for him.
With us? Is Art
no,
Modell?
he's not. That's what I'm saying. You could only bring it back after he passed.
And the people in Cleveland cheer. Not me. Don't send your emails to me.
But who is it? We didn't find out. We didn't find out who it is. He's wearing a Christmas outfit, but it's brown and orange.
So Kevin Stefanski, former coach, had on a hoodie in when was it, 1999. Popularity resumed.
Okay.
So that's why.
Stefanski had it in 1999?
What it says here.
Stefanski was like 12 in 1999, wasn't he? What was he doing in 1999?
Apologies. I read this.
Was born in 1999.
No, it came out in 1999. He wore it later on. Sorry,
okay, there you go. No, I was wondering. I was like, Stefanski wasn't even on the scene until like 2017.
2020 for him.
All right.
So but it's been around for a long time.
All right. Well, Elfie on the shelfie for the Browns.
Brownie the elf.
Oh, boy.
That's your mascot, Cleveland?
Yeah. No, look, the dog pound was just fine.
What happened to the dog pound? Now we have Brownie the elf.
I know. You guys could have really run with Triumph the Insult Comic Dog and have that kind of be, because it was like a bulldog, but then it was like kind of a Rottweiler. People were wearing like the rubber dog masks at the games. I was fine with that.
Also, fans voted 2022 to make it midfield logo.
Oh,
so blame them.
Gosh, I will blame the fans.
So it's from the late 1940s.
Yeah. Brownie the elf. That's dumb. All right. I'm moving on.
2 hours with you.
Sorry.
Which is probably the reason why I've had enough tonight.
Yeah, Brownie the elf was born in 1946.
Born? Brownie the elfie on the shelfie. Yeah. Yeah, you got to get rid of it. Well, they'll do anything to kind of get a championship back. There we go. All right. I'm done talking about that's as much Browns talk as I ever want to have on this program. Okay? And there we are. Hey, our program's brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. Find them at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other places in the refrigerated section. And there you go. Let's kick off the program as we always do. We have the cut to kick things off and to start it up officially, and then we put the Browns talk behind us. Let's get right to it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We'll find out. I mean, I feel good about the team. If you guys think they haven't made any progress from last year to now, then that's your opinion. I think people can realize that we're a different team than last year's team, and we'll keep working on it. We are sitting at 3-0. There's some really good things that we're doing. I think a lot of people want to focus on the negative. We'll get better. We know how to fix those things, and we'll make it work. But I like to praise the things that we've done already as a team.
I disagree with Kalani that people are trying to focus on the negative. It's hard to not see the similarities, though, because you were burned last year going 3-0, needing just 3 wins out of the next 9 games to get to bowl eligibility, and it didn't happen. So people are trepidatious at best when it comes to their belief in BYU, right? So it's not, I mean, if Kalani wants to paint the picture of us versus the world thing, that's fine. You got to do that as a coach. We have a conversation every week with Connor Pay. We're going to have that conversation with him next hour. And I think there's a lot of this. I mean, we'll ask him the same question, but I think there's a lot of similarities. It's an easy thing for the team to find a, hey, nobody believes in us but us type of a theme, right? Which is what Kalani's finding with this. And that, I think it's fine. It's something that he gets motivation out of. It's something the team gets motivation out of. But when did the wheels fall off last year? You brought it up yesterday, Jay.
Game 4.
Game 4.
In Lawrence, Kansas.
First game of
as soon as you started conference
schedule.
play. This is the next hurdle for them.
That's
a big hurdle on Saturday night coming to Lavelle Edwards Stadium. Oof.
Yes. And it's a better Kansas State team than Kansas was last year. I feel pretty confident saying that.
100%.
You're on the road last year, but it's not like, Kansas is known for the
I was there. That is not an intimidating place to play.
That's what I'm saying. It's not an insane atmosphere. So I don't know. Here's what Kalani had to say about playing Kansas State, because he does know, obviously, it's going to be the biggest challenge that they have so far this year.
They play great defense, play great on offense, and they do a great job on special teams as well. So I talked about how well coached they are. They have really good talent, too. It's going to be a true test for us, one of the teams that are favored to win this conference and highly ranked. And so we're looking forward to the matchup. I'm excited about the opportunities that we have and know more about ourselves and about our program and how much progress we've made. I felt like we've made some great progress throughout this season and especially from last year, and really looking forward to this game.
Okay. It is their biggest challenge. BYU, I feel like the players should do the thing that Utah players did. Yeah, BYU game's important, I guess. But this Oklahoma State game is the most important game on our schedule. For BYU, I mean, Utah is obviously a difficult game. And that one, if Utah is rolling, it's going to be a single-digit ranked Utah team up there in Salt Lake City. That's already a more difficult situation. The thing about this game is, and what I do hope to hear later in the whole show, or later when we hear a little bit about. Or no, we can in the next segment we'll actually play some of the things that have been said about BYU by Avery Johnson, who's a quarterback for Kansas State. They have the same thing where they're like, "Hey, look, we're going to this place that we have no idea what we get," and they're making a big deal out of the elevation. Fine, and obviously it's one of the bigger, if not the biggest, stadium in the conference now. Is it? Where is it at? Where's I think it's the largest stadium capacity wise in the conference now. Oh, we'll have to look it up. I don't know how. There's no way to find that out, Jeremiah. There's no way to. That's not kept. That record isn't kept.
It's number
anywhere.
one.
It is.
It is kept. That record is kept, and it is number one.
Number two's probably got to be Oklahoma State and Utah, kind of around there, right?
Number 2
McLean
is
Stadium?
Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa, 61,500. Number 3 is Texas Tech Jones AT&T Stadium, 60,454. Number 4 is West Virginia, Milan Pusker Stadium, 60,000 seats.
That is the most West Virginia name, Milan Pusker. Okay.
And number 5 is Utah.
Yeah. And Oklahoma State's right there.
By a hair over Oklahoma State.
Yeah, they're about the same size. So I get it. And I will say this.
Oh, sorry, that's incorrect.
What is it?
Oh, I got this wrong. Oklahoma State is 5th. Arizona State is 6th with 53, and Utah's 7th.
We're talking about ones that actually
with 51,000.
We're talking about stadiums where actually they'll put that many people.
That's what I misunderstood. Is how many stadiums are actually filling that many people?
Yeah, and you know what? 4 years ago, BYU, 3 years ago, BYU was not putting all the butts in the seats. You've got to admit, the year running up to Big 12 and then Big 12 play last year, the student section is better than it's been in a decade and a half. It started being look, and so it's an environment. What I'm saying is that it is raucous. All right, it's not Royal K Stadium with 95,000 people. It's not Boomer Sooner, I only bring those up because those are places that Kansas State has obviously played, but it is going to be one of the more, and hostile is not the word that I'd use for BYU's stadium, but I will say loud. It's very loud. It's very, very loud. And that's a place that they can draw some false starts, and I would anticipate they would. So Kalani obviously says this is their biggest game of the year so far, and it is. It might be along the lines of importance of the season, probably top 3. Even now, the way things are going to probably shake out, it's probably a top 3 game. And that's with all the good teams in the conference. BYU has to play all of them, basically. And at some point, UCF is going to end up being maybe a more important game than we had thought. And it's shaping up to be that way for everybody. So here's what Kalani had to say about the young guys who are now trying to learn this whole process, because I think this is where you start to make inroads next year and the year after, is when you have guys who are learning what it feels like to play in this conference and to play big-time teams.
They'll be ready. I think that they have a role. A lot of them will be called on to do some things. I mean, depending on the matchups and things like that. But I was pleased with how they've come along. We're deeper than we've ever been before, and we've had to test some of our depth in the running back position. And I feel good about where we stand. I feel good about the talent, especially with the incoming freshmen. There's a lot of talent there.
Do you think that's true? Do you think it's the best depth they've had? And it's only year 2 of the Big 12. It's only going to get better, but that's been the biggest knock is getting into
believe so. I saw some players getting time late in that game. I was impressed with what they can do. I think you're looking around at different positions. I mean, I think they're better at backup quarterback than they've been in a long, long time with Gary Bohannon, right? If Jake Retzloff goes down, what do you lose?
Yeah,
not much, right? So that's better. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
The running backs are being tested right now. I thought the freshmen came in and did a good job at Wyoming. Now it's a different test on Saturday. Again, we're gonna keep saying this all week. Like, BYU has not seen anything close to what they're going to see on Saturday night. But you look around in the depth, is it better? And the ultimate question we've asked in this segment is BYU better this year than last? I have some stats. Are you ready for some numbers? Because that makes for great radio.
Maybe the recitation of numbers isn't great radio, but for somebody who's listening in right now,
can we nerd out for
lend an ear?
Points
this
here?
Is the stuff you could tell your friends that you looked up yourself at home, and then you bring it to the water cooler. Let JJ do the work for you.
What were they ranked offense last year, total offense? Do you remember at the end of the season?
At the end of the season, I want to say 99th.
Okay, they're 40th right now. That's a drastic improvement.
Yeah,
through 3 games,
absolutely.
And that's and that includes a game that you went 18-15. against SMU, right? So that's good. Total defense, what were they last year?
Again, probably in that
120th.
120? I would have said like 104, but
they are 14th in the country right now in total defense.
Wow.
Sacks, where were they last year? Dead last in the country. They were
133.
You didn't know that? They were tied with
who doesn't have people
They were tied
play?
with some other team for the last in the country.
Some other team.
Jonah Ellis had more sacks
by himself
than BYU,
Yep.
and he only played in 10 games. This year, they're tied for 58th with 6. Yeah. So they've split the difference. Mm-hmm. And here's one that's going to get people riled up a little bit. Jake Retzlaff, total offense nationally, 13th.
Him?
In the country.
Wow.
In total offense. That includes passing and rushing.
Okay.
You probably didn't think that.
No.
Was Keaton Slovis 13th in the nation last year in the point total offense?
Not even close.
So is there improvement? Absolutely.
It's only 3 games in, though, JJ. Come on, man.
But are we going to see the improvement on Saturday night? Yeah. And that's what BYU fans really want to know. And the BYU fans, look, I'm not glossing over some of the stuff that's questionable. I think the defense is great. I'm not seeing any big weaknesses there. And we got to see him against a big-time running back, though, right? How are they going to hold up against an Ollie Gordon or some of the other great running backs in the league? But right now, the defense looks legit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to gloss over some of the bad throws and some of the mistakes that Jake Retzlaff has made, and understanding that those mistakes could be taken advantage of a lot more by Big 12 defenses than they have by the first 3 teams they've played. But you can't argue that BYU hasn't improved in a lot of areas. The true test will be once they get into conference play, which begins on Saturday night.
Remember how bad? Let me just remind people where this team was at this point last year. That you had already seen problems with the offense at this point, right? Even though you go, all right, 3 games in, they're 3-0. And that's the part where you said you were more impressed last year with the Arkansas win at Arkansas. That's a tougher place to play than winning, down at SMU, and certainly winning at Wyoming. So on the whole, that one looks better on paper. However, you already knew that they had problems. Last year, they couldn't get more. They averaged less than 105 yards a game on the ground. Their opponents averaged 180 on the ground per game against them, right? And then passing, they averaged 205 yards a game passing. They averaged last year, if you'll recall, 310 yards of offense per game. 310. And that's why game 2 kind of made people a little bit nervous, because they got 325 or whatever it was when they beat SMU. But the difference is this year, they held SMU under 250. They held Wyoming to 217 this last weekend? Something stupid. There's a reason they're 14th in total defense this year. It's because they are stifling teams. And we don't know how good SMU is. We feel like we know how bad Wyoming is. Mm-hmm. That's why you wonder. But it doesn't make a difference if you don't actually show, because those other teams that they played early on in the season were also not very good teams in a lot of respects. Arkansas ended up being one of the worst rushing defenses in the country, and guess what? BYU couldn't run the ball against them. They had an okay night. It turns out it was one of their better nights because Arkansas was abysmal in the run game, in run defense. Okay, so you still have to perform against those bad teams, and they couldn't even figure those games out when they were supposed to, run all over teams. Gosh, they averaged 23 points a game last year, and they gave up 30 a game.
That's not a good recipe.
No, that's how you lose 9 out of the. That's how you lose, 7 of the 9 conference games and 5 in a row at the very end. And they were in the games against some of the toughest teams in the conference at the very end of the year. That's what's wild to me. With this, basically the same group, a lot of the same people, a lot of the same personnel. I'm not saying that they can't pull it off. What I'm saying is, this is the difficulty that they have ahead of them, is trying to prove that they have turned a corner. We've all seen with our eyes the eyeball test with the first 3 games of the defense feels like you know what's going on with that defense, that it has changed, it has gotten better. I don't know if it's going to be 14th at the end of the season, but I guarantee it's not going to be 130th or whatever it was. So, all right, here's what Coach Klein-Estake said about the quarterback they're going to be facing. Avery Johnson is legit. He's one of the more talented dudes. And I'll say, too, having heard him speak a little bit. He is a confident guy, too. He feels like he knows this offense very, very well. Here's what Kalani says about Avery Johnson.
Well, Avery is a dynamic runner. He can take a small little gap and turn it into a big-time play. So he can create on his feet, even in the pass game. He can create more time for him in the pocket. And then he's always a threat to scramble and hurt you that way. So he's a complete player when it comes to quarterback. Tough kid, too, man. I think he's got a great command of the offense, and they've done a great job at setting him up to have success. But he can do whatever you need a quarterback to do. I've been really impressed with him on film.
He's not just impressive on film. Like, he's a really, really good leader, too.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell when he talks, you're like, oh, this guy's got it put together. It's the same kind of attitude you get from – kind of reminds me of Cam Rising a little bit. Like, the swagger's there. You know what I mean? And has a little bit of a smile on his face and is kind of running free. Doesn't really put up insane numbers through the air, but scares the absolute hell out of you if you're a defensive coordinator. Absolutely
always
scares
calm and chill, and it feels like he's got everything under control, right? And that's an attribute that you want out of your quarterback. You don't want a quarterback that is anything but that. And give him credit. He's shown that, and he's from Wichita. I mean, he's a Kansas kid, and they don't get those kind of talents in that state very often. And he's a really good player. Sophomore, 6'2", 192. Mm-hmm. Dual threat. BYU is going to have to be ready in all phases because this Kansas State team's got a lot of talent. But especially on defense, they're going to have to figure him out. They need to make him a pocket passer. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? I mean, I'm no genius, but I can see that. Like, you have a better shot against Kansas State by forcing Avery Johnson to become a pocket passer than you do letting him get out on the edge and get involved in the run game. But what was the one time this year in the first 3 games where you felt like somebody had BYU figured out?
Yeah.
It was game 1. That quarterback was getting chunk plays in the run game.
But they also did the same thing with Jennings in the second half of that SMU game, right?
Yeah.
He was running the ball a little bit, and it got a little bit nerve-wracking for him. And then what they do, they go, look, let's just keep this guy in a pocket. Mm-hmm. And what did he do? Go 3 for 16 in his last 19 throws. And that lost the game for him. They went out on the field, and they had to throw the ball to have success, and they couldn't do it. They could not do it. One, because BYU had pressure, which, as the defensive backs will tell you, makes their lives so much easier when there's some pressure on the quarterback, because then they look and they go, oh, he's getting flustered here, and I'm on my guy. I'm going to be able to get a takeaway here. So
here's the bad news with that. If you make Avery Johnson a pocket passer, his completion percentage has gone up 8 points. He was 56% last year. Now he's 64%.
All right. But he's still not throwing the ball a ton, right? Like, he's throwing it, how many times a game? 20? 15, 20? I think in the last game he only completed
21, 23, 23 on attempts.
He's not throwing the ball a lot. So he wants to be on the run a little bit more. They want to hand the ball off to Giddens, and they've got a 2-headed monster running back. They want to make sure that they dominate you. By the way, Kansas State probably has the best offensive line in the entire Big 12. They look like Wisconsin. Okay?
Yes.
They have that size. They have that Big 10 corn-fed sort of look to them. Okay?
As they should.
And that's what Kansas State has been built on.
That's what they should be.
Yeah.
They're the old Big 8. I mean, that's how all those teams are, even though they stunk back then.
No, but they have.
That's the culture. Yes. That's where they come from. That's what their football tradition is.
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Well, speaking of, so I mentioned his stats, Avery Johnson. Would you rather have that 60% completion rate with just the 22 attempts per game, or would you rather have him on the ground? Well, I'll answer this real quick. They struggled against Tulane. He only carried the ball 8 times for 40 yards in that game. They crushed Arizona. He ran the ball 17 times for 110 yards, averaging 6.5 yards per carry. He had a 26-yard run. Your best chance is keeping him in the pocket, and you roll the dice with that. Don't let him run 17 times a game. You will lose.
They don't want to dial up 30 pass plays even for him. They feel comfortable calling 20 to 25 pass plays.
If you get him to 30 attempts in that game, that means you're winning.
You're doing pretty well.
It means you're forcing them to throw.
I like it.
You're forcing them to play from behind.
This is why I cheat off of JJ's play sheet before I do my pre-games on Saturdays. What you're going to want to do, this is me on Saturday, fast forward to Saturday. What you're going to want to do, you want to force Avery Johnson to throw the ball 30 to 35 times. Back to you. I'm just going to steal this straight from you, all right?
Expert analysis.
That's what we're going to do. Speaking of experts, what the opposing teams have to say about the games they're playing this weekend, what the Wildcats have to say about BYU, what the Cowboys have to say about Utah, all of it right around the corner. Plus, we'll hear from Tyler Batty on the way back in as well, what he says about year 2 into Big 12 play. We've got so many things for you here, so stay right here and stay attentive because we're going to be still talking some local college football, and we're going to get you going here. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Aggies head east to Philadelphia for a big non-conference battle against Temple. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
A Parker Kingston audio clip where the players are all saying the same thing, JJ. It sounds good. We're miles ahead where we were last year. So this 3-0 to them feels different because inside the team, they saw problems. They got to 3-0 last year, but they saw problems. Now, I've been fascinated by the numbers you've rolled out the last couple of days on Jake Retzlaff because it doesn't go along with the narrative of everybody else rolling out like, same old, same old. This is what you're going to get, inconsistent Jake. But he was 0-4 last year. He was 3-0 so far this year. I get the competition's different. But, man, does Jake Retzlaff of this year throw that pick 6 against Oklahoma this weekend?
Maybe. That's why the jury's still out. That's the only issue here. The numbers, if you're just looking on paper, pop.
They look pretty good.
Who's 13th in the country in total offense? Jake Retzlaff.
Wild.
But how many moments in the Wyoming game where you're like, what?
Why'd you throw that?
What was that SMU ride like, BYU fans?
Oh, yeah. It was
you wanted to get off that train, didn't you? Mm-hmm. This is the Jake Retzlaff experience. You know what? It just is what it is.
I think
as long as it's productive and it ends with W's, just enjoy the ride.
So Darius Lassiter does the Players Club with DJ and PK every Monday. And they asked him yesterday morning, I don't know if you heard it, but they asked him yesterday morning, like, hey, so you didn't look real happy with Jake after he missed you on an out route there that was pretty wide open.
Yeah. And
it's frustrating because Darius Lassiter is like, I'm beating the absolute drawers off of this corner that he's working on. And he's like, there's this guy's got no shot. Just put the ball on the money or get it close.
Yeah.
Ask Chase Roberts. Get it close. I'll bail you out. There were a couple of throws that felt like they were bailouts. Even the trick play, like that was not a beautiful ball.
Hung up there, didn't it?
So,
like this could go either one way or the other. Yeah. One's good, one's bad, and it went good.
Right. So what I'm saying is the nerve-wracking part is exactly that. It's nerve-wracking. So I think the reality is we're going to get a better idea in 3 games what this team really is. The problem is last year after 6 games, what were they? They were 4-2.
They were 4-2.
5-1. Yeah, they were 4-2.
They had the loss to Kansas. What was
they
it?
beat Cincinnati.
They went into the Texas Tech game 4-2. So they beat Cincinnati.
And they were 5-2. They were 5-2 after the Texas Tech game. Yeah. So even 7 games in, people were like, I feel like they got a chance here.
I mean, I came on the show last year every week, and I said, look, like BYU, they're 5-2. This team could get to 7-8 wins. And then everything changed quickly.
Yeah, I thought it was your fault.
I take full responsibility. But yeah,
I am an idiot.
Oh, come on. That was not his fault.
And BYU has kind of a little bit of a history of this in October into November. What happened, a couple years ago?
Were they 0-for in October? They didn't win a game in October?
Remember how Puka made that incredible catch-up at Boise State? Otherwise, they would have lost a 5th straight game.
Oh, boy.
Like, there's this midseason thing that this program's got to get over the hump with.
Yeah, and I think that part of that is the depth part where when you start to run into the wall of injury,
it's exactly what it is.
Do you have enough dogs to keep in that fight?
It was an issue in Independence.
Yeah.
And obviously it's going to be an issue in Big 12. It's still a work in progress.
Nominate your youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Just submit that nomination, KSLSports.com/contest. Listen every Thursday. JJ and I reveal that winner, and we celebrate the efforts of those volunteers who do an awesome job with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And you know who somebody is. You have somebody on your mind who does a phenomenal job with your kids, with the kids in the community, whomever it might be, and you can nominate that person. Just go to KSLSports.com/contest. Nominate them. We'll honor them with a gift card from Hercules Credit Union and then a voucher for $200 to Beehive Meals. So there you go. I called one of my kids today. I said, "Put one of the Beehive Meals in the pot," because I'd forgotten.
It's so easy. Even
I know.
Your kids can do it.
I know, and
it's easier than a microwave.
No. Here's the best question.
You can still burn your house down with a microwave. You can't really do that. Here
was the best question from the 14-year-old though. Wait, so do I take the plastic off or does it cook in the plastic? I said, go ahead and take the plastic off there, buddy.
Wow. So
there's still some things that you're like,
okay,
I get it. Maybe he thought it was like a sous vide bag or something. Kids, man, we all had to learn at some point, right? All right.
Yes.
Avery Johnson, the quarterback for the Kansas State Wildcats. He's one of the more interesting characters in the league this year at quarterback because he could be an all-conference guy. His team definitely lives and dies by what he does. And here's what Avery Johnson said about the challenges that BYU's defense brings this Saturday.
They're really talented. They're big guys. They're really disciplined and sound. Those guys play hard, and it's going to be a different environment for us. Elevation will be up, and that stadium can get pretty loud. So we're going to have to definitely come ready to compete and ready to play.
Okay. It is a loud environment. You can tell yourself that all you want to until you actually get into it. Like, oh, yeah, it's going to be a loud environment. It's like, is it? Because someone told you? He's like, well, in college football 2025, it's pretty loud. Have we gotten the sim game yet from Mitch? Okay, too early in the week. You got to give the EA Sports. My favorite part about all that is that Mitch actually puts it on the simulation and then just watches it like a game.
He's a sicko.
That's his job, though, man. He's got to get down to the details because you could just press simulate and it would just do it. That's the way I did it back in the day. But now you got to watch the game.
Got to get the clips as well.
You got to pull clips. You got to pull the clips. All right. All right. Here's what Kansas State head coach Chris Kleiman. Chris Kleiman is an interesting guy. We've been able to talk to him the last couple of Big 12 media days, and he's one of these guys that is an up and coming coach. Took over for Bill Snyder. Obviously, that's a program that needed to have consistency, and they had it for decades with him. But now they're starting to get more of that recognition, and I think Chris Kleiman is doing a lot to help that out. Here's what he said about playing at LaBelle Edwards Stadium.
I was there once in, I think, 2008 when I was at UNI, and I remember how loud it was. I remember how gorgeous the setting was. I know that football is really important at BYU, and they've had great tradition of football, and they're off to a 3-0 start. So I think that, as well as the fact it's a great setting, it's a night game, it's on ESPN, it's going to attract a lot of viewers and attract a lot of fans. But the fact that you've got two undefeated teams that are playing pretty well now, I think it's just going to be a great atmosphere for college football.
Yeah, that's a feeling you get with Kansas State. BYU fans are looking at it and going, okay, it's still kind of been a little bit sputtery. Kansas State hit a little bit of a groove this weekend. And I don't know if you can say that BYU's hit any kind of groove yet, except for on defense, I guess, right? So the part where you take over a game, and they owned the time of possession last week against Wyoming, but it did feel clunky. You know, I think anybody who watched that game, games take on their own personality, right, JJ? They have the feel to them that kind of it just sort of gets taken over with however things are going. And when BYU was 11-1 and playing awful teams, the play calling, they were 5 steps ahead of every team, every play call. And the narrative of every game was this crazy thing where you're like, oh my gosh, everything's working, right? And there's a reason that Zach Wilson was the number 2 overall pick that year. Everything was clicking, and we haven't seen a clicking BYU offense really since then. I mean, there were moments.
That's dilemma. That's why there's this, I'll call it polarization in the fan base with Jake Retzlaff, because it's not fair, but this is just how it's going to be at BYU. You're going to be compared to the greats before you. And there's been some recent greats. Jaron Hall, outstanding, right? Zach Wilson, number 2 overall pick. You go before that, Taysom Hill. And then not long before that, you had Riley Nelson, who had some great moments. And then you had Max Hall and John Beck. Like, this whole generation of BYU fans has been used to having great quarterback play, and when it's not, they recognize it and they boo it. Right. You know what I mean? Like, they get it and they understand when you have good quarterback play and when you don't. And look, I pointed out these numbers. Jake's stats are great, but there's moments where it's teetering one way or the other, and this is an opportunity for it to teeter all the way back over, because if he gets a win against Kansas State at home, a number 13 team in the country, like, that's just going to be such a shot of confidence for him and this team and for the fan base. It's a chance for him to win this over. Beating SMU on the road 18-15 is not going to win anybody over. Beating the bad Wyoming team in Laramie is not winning anyone over. So what? You beat them by 20 points. They were garbage.
Yeah, you know how
they
fans
lost
are.
to Idaho.
But you know how fans are too.
So this is a big moment
They
for
beat
them.
Kansas State, and it'll be like a 17-13 game, and they'll go, yeah, but.
Well, they better not for this one. If BYU beats Kansas State Saturday night, BYU has turned a corner, and BYU is legit, because that's how good Kansas State is. Kansas State beat a really good Tulane team at their place and had to make a play late to make sure they won that game. That was a good win, though, on the road.
Yep.
And then what did they do on Friday night? They absolutely dominated a team that we thought was a legit top 25 team in the country.
Yeah.
So if BYU beats them, the perception of BYU, not just for us, but around the country, will suddenly change. You beat a top 15 team in the country, you're going to get noticed, you're going to get attention. This is a massive opportunity for BYU to prove to everybody, including themselves, that they truly are as good as they said they are, that they have improved. This is a moment to show everybody who you are and what you're really about. Even if it's really, really close, they'll have proven something. Because Kansas State, there's no shame in losing to that team.
Oh, for sure.
There will be shame in losing to them by double digits and you turn the ball over 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. Hey, we'll come back. We've got a Would You Rather. We also need to play some of this sound from Oklahoma State head coach Mike Gundy at the press conference, where they had to put a refrigerator out of its misery to be able to get through the interview. Kudos to Mike Gundy. He's actually the one who started it up. Those reporters were being funny about it. They were like, let's just power through. Worst audio ever. Come on. All right. We'll come back. We've got more to go. Stay right here with us. It is 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right. Would you rather? A little fun game we like to play during our program. I also have some sound still to hear from Coach Mike Gundy, which was quite an never dull moment with Mike Gundy. There's always something going on. And I think at his press conference, I don't know, we can do we're doing the fridge one later though, right? Okay. The fridge one's later. This is like the actual, once they got the fridge to stop malfunctioning, you got actual audio from Coach Mike Gundy. Here's what he said about preparing for Cam Rising. And by the way, Mike Gundy and Kyle Whittingham are the 2 longest tenured coaches in the Big 12. And number 2 and 3 in the country of tenured coaches in FBS.
Well, there's a would you rather right there.
Okay.
We'll do that after we hear the sound.
Absolutely. So here's what Mike Gundy had to say about Cam Rising.
We've had some games on him. He went out in the second quarter, I think, and so we've got decent tape on kind of what they're doing. They're not really trying to change scheme-wise much. They're going to do what they do, and it looks like they're bringing him along the best chance they get.
We got some decent tape on him. I would hope by now. Well, not just that. You have Andy Ludwig. Yeah, it's not just 7 years in, Jeremy. You have Andy Ludwig, who's been the offensive coordinator for the entirety of his time there when Cam's been the quarterback. Everything they do, you could go back. They get inventive, but at the same time, Andy Ludwig and Kyle Whittingham have a style.
There's nothing new. There's no secrets with Utah. They are who they are, and Mike Gundy knows it.
Yeah, and guess what? The reality is that they tend to beat you in the trenches. They tend to beat you at quarterback play. Their running backs tend to be better than your defense. That's how they win this thing, right? Here's what he said about playing Utah and then Kansas State, because that's who their second opponent is in conference play. That's a rough one.
Well, I thought they were trying to make it hard on us, to be honest with you. And the commissioner's my buddy, but he doesn't do the scheduling. And so I sent the wrong guy pecans for Christmas. I should have sent the scheduling guy pecans for Christmas. But I'm sure they set this up based on success over an extended period of time and what they thought could be games that might determine what happens at the end of the year. And their job is to create games that are going to draw viewership. And I would guess that they probably had that in mind when they scheduled these games.
Ding, ding, ding. You won the lottery, Mike Gundy. They schedule these games based off of how interested we are in watching them. There you go. And look, I get it. Playing Utah and Kansas State back-to-back is not fun. I don't think they're coming at you personally. I don't think that they're attacking you personally, Mike Gundy, right? I mean, that's the idea, right? Where it's like, I'm coming. The scheduling guy made this one more difficult. And it's like, yeah, right. That's pretty good Mike Gundy, by the way.
You're close.
The scheduling guy made this a little bit more difficult. I sent the wrong guy pecans. Did he call them pecans?
Pecan, yeah. I don't think Brett Yarmark's a pecan guy.
No. Pecan is the state tree of Texas, though. Jeremy, you remember this? You remember your old Texas state history class? You can figure it out. What's the state flower? Yeah, the weeds on the side of the freeway, yes. Don't touch them or they'll be murdered. That was like when you're a kid, you're trained. Oh, my goodness. All right, so Mike Gundy knows exactly what he's getting with Utah, and I think Utah knows exactly what they're getting with Oklahoma State. Here's the twist. Guess who is 7th in the country in passing? If you have Alan Bowman down, you'd be right. If you had him down at the beginning of the year being 7th in the country right now in passing, at the beginning before the year started, this is a guy who's been absolutely terrible as the quarterback. He was picked as, in a lot of cases, it was like, who's BYU's quarterback? Well, it's either Jake Retzlaff or Gary Bohannon. Yeah, I still take my chances with those guys. In a lot of the lists, they were 16th, they were 15th, and then whoever it was, Alan Bowman. Alan Bowman is having a career freaking year. That's not good because guess what they're going to do? They've been leaning more on him than they have Ollie Gordon, who everybody is prepping for. It's not going to be as straightforward with Oklahoma State as it usually is. The Doak Walker Award winner is not the key piece right now in this offense. Isn't that weird? That's freaking weird.
It is weird. You know what else is weird? Do you know what the combined ages of the quarterbacks in the Oklahoma State-Utah game is?
51.
Almost 49.
Oh, boy.
Do you know what the combined ages of the Colts-Texans game in week 1 of the NFL season was?
40.
44.
Oh, my goodness.
5-year gap between college quarterbacks starting in a game this weekend in a top 25 matchup and a battle between the Colts
This is
and the Texans.
Alan Bowman's third team, right? He was Texas Tech.
Actually
playing. He played snaps for Texas Tech. If I'm not mistaken, he actually played snaps at Michigan. And then is finally, settled in at Oklahoma State. So Utah's not getting just the full-on, regular, straightforward version of Alan Bowman and of this Oklahoma State offense. The Doak Walker winner, Ollie Gordon, is not even in the top 15 for rushing in the country right now. So
Alan Bowman played in 9 games in 2018.
Wow. Like I said, he's been around a long time.
That's insane.
BYU gets hassled, man, but geez.
3 years at Texas Tech, 2 at Michigan, 2 at Oklahoma State.
Very quickly, JJ, would you rather be a new Pac-12 team or in some other G5 conference?
A new Pac-12 team.
Yeah, it still has that draw.
As long as the Pac-12 is going to pay my bills.
Plus, as long as UTSA is in the Pac-12, the new Pac-12, I think we're going to be in a good place. Join Hans and Scotty on Friday, noon to 3 at Rough Tough, 2252 West President's Drive in West Valley City, America's finest custom seat covers. We'll take the break here. We'll come back right around the corner. Our weekly conversation with BYU offensive captain and center, Connor Pay. Stay right here with us, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to take you inside the huddle. Here we go. Straight from the source. This is the Players Club with JJ and Alex, featuring Cougar offensive lineman Connor Pay on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on in, everybody. It's another edition of the Players Club right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen, and, of course, Connor Pay, our weekly guest on the Players Club. Connor, what's up, man? Everything good this week? You feeling good?
Everything is good. I'm feeling good.
You survived Laramie. That's a good thing.
Survived Laramie.
No piss bags or anything like that?
Stop. That's a terrible thing to call somebody's grandmother.
Jeez.
No, yeah, to be honest, pretty disappointed with the crowd. Wasn't nearly as hostile as some of the other places we've been. It wasn't even half as hostile as Utah State was.
Wow.
See, that's interesting because we were just having a conversation about this with another player, and he was like, same thing about Utah State, where it's like, hey, I thought it was going to be more hostile. I was looking forward to it. I thought I would have appreciated being less hostile, but you guys look forward to that stuff.
Yeah, no, we do. It makes away games a lot of fun.
Connor, I believe that Wyoming fans just weren't very good because they know their team's not good either.
That's fair.
They're a little down and out up in Wyoming right now.
Well, give us an idea what happened on Saturday night. Per your estimation, when you got the film in front of you, and probably during the game, there were some things where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get so mad at myself on this. Dad's going to want to watch film on this. And instead, I don't know what you ended up walking away from the game with. I know that you were probably bummed out about a couple of penalties called on number 70. So give me your thoughts on how that game went and kind of the breakdown for you personally and as a team.
Yeah, no, obviously didn't for me personally, because I got the holding call at the end of the game that called back a big run and just kind of that false start penalty. I was kind of feeling like a little wishy-washy about how I played. But then after watching it, I was like, you know what, I actually had a pretty solid game, and just had a couple plays that, you want back, but that's true of every game. But overall pretty happy with how we played as an offense. I think we're able to move the ball up and down the field pretty easily. I think it very easily could have been a 40 or 50 point game if we don't just shoot ourselves in the foot a couple times with penalties in the red zone. And I think I wish we would have been able to run the ball downhill a little more consistently. At the end of the day, we averaged almost 5 yards per carry in that game. So, you can't be upset about it. I just wish that, how we got that 5 yards a carry looked a little different, and it's, the RPO game is an interesting one, for an offensive lineman, because there was just, a lot of plays, especially in the first half, where it's like, oh man, we blocked that up perfectly, and you throw the RPO. But then it's, it's a 15-yard fade ball to chase. So you can't be mad about it. Right. But then it's like, oh geez. And then of course, there were a couple plays. I know there was one where, the nose kind of jumped the snap count on me a little bit and got out in front, and I wasn't able to recover. And that ended up being a TFL where it's like, geez, man, you couldn't have thrown the RPO on that one. But overall happy that we're 3-0, man. I feel like there's been at least a couple areas that we've improved every single week, as an offense and as an offensive line. So that's pretty encouraging for us coming into Kansas State this week.
Kalani Sitake was asked a question on Monday about how he feels about this 3-0 start compared to last year's 3-0 start, and he defended this team, saying it's much better than you guys were last year. Do you feel the same way? And what are the things that you've seen, Connor, that make you believe that you guys are better this year at 3-0 than you were last year at 3-0?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's non-conference play, right? So it's a little different than conference play, but I think one of the main differences is how well this team is able to reset week to week. And just understand that your right to play well on Saturdays is earned Monday through Friday, right? And every week that clock resets. Nothing you did last week or the week before means anything at all for the game coming up this week. You have to go out there and have to practice your best this week to be able to go and play your best. And I think this team has done that well, which was not the case last year. And also at least offensively, we've been able to move the ball a lot better than we did last year, even though now we were both 3-0, but there were much more glaring issues on offense. We were having a hard time getting over 300 yards in a game, and that's been quite a bit different this year. And kind of like what I mentioned before, that weekly incremental improvement that we've had as an offensive line and as an offense, that's something that stands out in my mind as something that's different this year compared to last year.
We were, watching this one, and as you're going, and when the game starts, all week everyone's going, so what's going on with the running backs? What's going on with the running backs? Oh, you're going to see probably this guy and this guy. I did not have on the sheet that Pokai Honga and Sione Amoa would actually have so much to do with that game. How confident are you guys when they do throw guys in the backfield and they don't get a ton of the reps during the week necessarily, or how much trust do you have? I mean, those two guys are young too, like very very different than the faces of the guys that you've seen in the backfield. So how'd you feel about having those two guys back there and trying to just deal with injuries and things like that at the running back spot?
Oh, it was good. It was good to see those guys back there. We have full confidence in them. We got a glimpse of what they could do during fall camp, and so what the rest of the world hasn't had a chance to see yet, we've been watching for weeks. And and I'm sure you guys saw it, those dudes run hard. They run hard and they try to run through people. I think both Sione and Pokai both had a couple runs where they broke multiple tackles and were able to gain some good yards. And so I thought it was really good, especially for them being freshmen, young players, to get a chance to actually go and feel what it's like in a real game, because it's different than practice. And, I think it was a great experience for them. And, we trust them wholeheartedly.
Jake Retzloff was 22 of 36, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns, the 1 pick, 74.6 QBR. And then he ran for 62 yards. Statistically, Jake had a great game. Yeah, Connor feels like he's still trying to win over half the BYU fan base about being the starter. You know how that all works, and that's all good and fun.
Yeah.
But what is he doing to win over you guys in the locker room with his performance?
No, I mean, he already has. He wouldn't be the starter if he hadn't won over the locker room. I think even going through fall camp, both Gary and Jake had done such a good job with the team that we were at the point where it was like, geez, we could go out and win with either of these guys, and so when Jake took the reins and had that great game against SIU, none of us were surprised by that. And then having a little bit of a different performance against SMU and then being able to bounce back this week, it's a tough job being the quarterback at BYU. It's a really tough job. You have to be near perfect for people to be happy, with what you're doing. And I think that stems from a long history of great quarterback tradition at BYU. They're accustomed to seeing excellent quarterback play. And so that's the standard. And so far, obviously Jake's made some mistakes and had some turnovers that he wishes that he had back, but overall, he's played great so far this season, and he's put us in positions to be 3-0.
Conference play opens up this week. When you guys opened up conference play last week, that was your first loss of the year, but it was at Kansas. Kansas State comes into LaVell Edwards Stadium. That's as big as a game as you can get all year long. I mean, you're talking about one of the highest-ranked teams in the entire Big 12 and a top 15 team with Kansas State. What have you seen on film from the Wildcats so far?
Yeah. No, obviously a good team. They wouldn't be ranked 12th or 13th in the country, if they weren't. But they run that 3-3-5 U defense. That's something that multiple Big 12 teams run, and it's they can cause some problems with the variability they can do with those 5 safety bodies that they have on the field, or DB bodies really, and playing that 3-man front with those 3 stacked backers and all the variability that they can get from those 6 guys. They can move those 6 people a lot of different places and still cover their gaps, and so it's they're going to pose a good challenge for us because they fly around and they play really hard. That's something that's evident on tape, is that they don't take plays off, and Kansas State's been good on defense for a long time, and I think that's a big reason why, is just how hard they play.
This is a big opportunity for you guys. You've heard the doubters all off season long. You've heard people like us talk about what we thought you guys are going to be. This is a chance for you guys to go out and show everybody what you guys think you are against a big time opponent. Do you get that vibe that you and your teammates are ready to go show people what you're really about? Win or lose, you're going to go out there and show that this is a BYU team that needs to be reckoned with?
Of course, that's always the goal. And Kalani has said before every game, this is statement 1, this is statement 2, statement 3, and now we're on statement 4. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, there's really no one's opinions that we really care about outside of the building. But obviously with the we want to do well, and we want to win, for the fans and for the people who love BYU football, right? And we want to go and put a great product on the field for them, and for each other. And so, I mean, obviously we want to go and play well in this game and make that statement, for us more than anything else, because we've had that belief and that understanding. None of us are surprised that we're 3-0, and so we're trying to carry that through week to week, resetting every week, earning it in practice, earning the right to play well on Saturdays, and that's what we're going to try to do again this week.
What have you seen on film so far? I know it's early in the week, but what have you looked at with this Kansas State team, and what do you see that you guys could take advantage of, or what are they really good at?
Kind of like I said before, they play really hard on defense, and when they run that 3-3 stack defense, it's really easy to move people around but keep all your gaps covered still, and then the way their linebackers key off of what the offensive line does, and you can tell that they're very well coached, and all 3 of their linebackers are returning starters, and so you can tell those are guys that know the system. They're not going to beat themselves. They don't make very many mistakes, and so I think the other part of it is, when they play that U defense too in versions of cover 3, but if a lot of times they come out too and they play a little bit of cover 2 man, and I think that's an opportunity for us to get stuff going in the run game a little bit when they play that defense, and keep 5.5 guys or 6 guys in the box, that can hopefully give us a chance to move the football down the field on the ground.
Chase Roberts is off to a great start this year. 15 catches, 263 yards. Somehow, some way has not found the end zone, but I'm sure that's going to end soon. But Chase is really stepping up. A junior, 6'4", 210. What can you tell us about Chase Roberts, his approach, and how he's kind of taken things where I think he's the go-to guy. He's really emerged as a guy that's being consistent in that role, whereas in the past he'd have some good games and then he had trouble finding that same rhythm. But this year it seems to be consistent each and every game.
Yeah, no, I mean, first and foremost, Chase had a killer offseason. And he's bigger and he's stronger and he's faster than he's ever been. And I think he's said it himself multiple times that, playing Big 12 defensive backs, and safeties that are 6'3", 220, 230 pounds is a little bit of a different game than what we were playing before. And so the whole receiving core, bigger, stronger, faster, and Chase especially. And I think that was, it's been on full display so far. Well, like I said, all this stuff that's happening is not a surprise to me or anyone else on the team. We've had a chance to watch it over the offseason and through fall camp. Chase is making those same plays he's making in the game all camp long. And so he just does the little things right. The details, they matter to him. And he's always taking his recovery seriously, always in the playbook, studying his film. He just does things the right way. And when you're willing to put in extra time and extra work while also being on your P's and Q's with everything that's normally required of you, gives you a chance to do something special. And I think he's done that so far.
The big difference is not just that it's a different team, Kansas State, your first conference game of the year, but you also get your first one at home this year. How big of a deal is it to come back after a couple of weeks of being away and be back at LaVell Edwards Stadium?
Oh yeah. Can't wait. Can't wait. And just the 8:30 kick time is fun, just because night games just have a different vibe to them, and it's LaVell Edwards under the lights is a different animal. And so we're really excited to be back at home, being back in front of the home fans. It's going to be loud. Because to be honest with you, the last 2 weeks we've kind of played in pretty mediocre stadiums, mediocre crowds a little bit. And so to get back in front of a real college football stadium, real intense fans, we're really excited, to do that. And I know the defense is pumped about it too, because hopefully the Rock can help us get a few false starts and maybe some miscommunication, and so always love playing at home.
Got to give a little bit of love to your defense as well. Your friends on the other side of the ball who are off to a great start this year. They've had a sack in every game. We talked about all offseason long about, last year they were last in sacks. They had to create more chaos plays. So far they're doing it. You're watching these guys do it. You practice with them. How have they done it? What's the difference this year defensively compared to last year?
I think one of the biggest things is just one more year, one more full off seasons to learn Jay Hill's defense, right? Because when you understand the scheme inside and out, you're not thinking about what you're supposed to do on that play. You're thinking about how you can do it to the best of your ability. You move from what's my assignment to how do I execute it. And I think the guys have been able to play a lot more free this year because, they're all on the same page. Everybody knows what's going on, and so now, they're not worried about what gap they're covering or what zone they have or what man they have. They already know. They already know, and they're able to be like, okay, what's my best move right here? Or how can as a corner, how can I keep leverage on this guy or stay on his hip or something like that? And it's been fun to watch, man. They have been balling for sure.
When you're in the huddle and the play comes in, and now it's a little bit different, right? Because they say it right into the ear of the quarterback. That's kind of a fun wrinkle. But when Jake barks out the play and it's one of A-Rod's specials, like a little trick play, do you sometimes go, oh my gosh, or is it like, oh, we've been working on this is fun, or is it?
Yeah, no. Anytime we call a special, it's here we go, house call.
But how often do you guys practice those things? And obviously, they change from time to time. But sometimes when Pokai Haunga had to be a part of a trick play, and he's like the fourth running back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I think Pokai's had a chance to do that a few times, I'm sure, in practice because we practice them a lot. There's a lot of special plays that haven't even made the tape yet. And so and there's a lot that I've been practicing the last 4 years that have never made it to the tape yet. We haven't had a chance to run them, and it's we practice them quite a bit. I think we don't spend as many live team reps on them, only if we really think we're going to run 2 or 3 of them that week. But we do in our walkthroughs and a lot of stuff like that where we have some time to get some extra plays, because you always have those walkthroughs during the week where you go through all your end of game situations, all that stuff. And specials is one of the things that we go through during those walkthrough periods. And so, Yeah, the list of interesting plays from A-Rod is long, and we haven't even scratched the surface.
I love how you call them interesting plays. And they're not running trick plays. It's an interesting play. They got something interesting going on. They dial it up. But it is funny, like, when you think that the playbook is not just deep, but also deep with a lot of that special stuff. And I'll tell you, that's the thing that gets people, like, my kids go bonkers. When fake anything gets run.
This is BYU, man. Like, all that kind of stuff. The gadget plays.
We got to do it.
Interesting plays, whatever you want to call it. That's in BYU lore. So hopefully we get to see some of those against Kansas State on Saturday night. Can't wait for it.
Connor, another week in the books, dude. And we're just glad you're healthy, and we're also glad that we get to get these breakdowns every week. We look forward to them, man. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
There you go. Connor Pay, everybody. We're going to take that quick break. We'll come back. We've got more to go right around the corner. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
With complete coverage of the Utah Hockey Club, this is Cole Bagley of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We are, what is tomorrow, the very first preseason game? Or what are we looking at here? My goodness. Is that how close we are?
What, for hockey?
Yeah.
Sunday.
Sunday's the official one. That's
in
when
Des
we're going to
Moines.
hear.
Monday with the Kings at Delta Center.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, camp starts Thursday.
Tomorrow's
media day
That's
is
what it
tomorrow.
is. Well, Cole Bagley, our Utah Hockey Club insider.
He just said goodbye to his family.
It's going to be a long 6 to 9 months. I mean, this is an 82-game season, and we anticipate this team could be very well on the edge of making those playoffs. I know that they're feeling pretty good about it. So, Cole, how are you feeling about all this thing? By this time tomorrow, we'll have all those nice pictures of all the players. We'll get some interviews. We're getting right against it, man. This is fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Like I've just been anticipating this ever since I was brought on, and I actually was complaining when there wasn't a whole lot going on, and some people were like, "Dude, calm down. Like your life is about to change pretty drastically. You're about to endure 82 games." Which this will be the first time that I've covered a season like that before, but I'm pumped. Like this is going to be just so much fun right from the get-go with countless first opportunities, first goals, first penalties, first fights, first assists. So many records and historic numbers to be had here in the coming weeks. So I'm ready.
Yeah, starting tomorrow, our focus is going to be on the team, the vets, and how good this team's going to be this year. Before we turn the page there, I wanted to get your thoughts on what you saw at the rookie thing with the team and some of the young players on the roster, because these are the guys that are going to be the future of this team. What stood out to you? Who was really the star of that group, and what did you learn about the youth on this Utah Hockey Club team?
Yeah, so for starters, rookie camp and rookie tournament is just all about bringing some of your more recent prospects, some of your recent draft picks all together, and just kind of seeing where those guys are at, right? Putting them through drills and training sessions, seeing how they've progressed over the summer, and how they've done maybe for some of their junior squads, and seeing just kind of evaluating, hey, is this guy ready to take it to the next level? Is he ready to play in the AHL? Is he ready to play in the NHL? So that's really what the point of the rookie camp is. And then, of course, across the league, they hold tournaments mostly regionally done. Of course, Utah participated in one, the rookie face-off out in L.A., so they played against the likes of the L.A. Kings, San Jose Sharks, and Vegas Golden Knights. And yeah, there were some standouts. Former 2022 first-round pick, number 4 overall, Maverick Lamoureux, defenseman, 6'7". This kid is a defensive unit, and there's so many things to like about him. He doesn't lose any skating ability, any speed, even though the fact that he could be playing in the NBA, just given his size and athleticism. He's phenomenal. He was by far the number one standout, no matter who you asked. analysts, scouts, coaching staff, Lamoureux was the best prospect for Utah in this rookie camp. He had a goal that was just beautiful in the last game, just from the high slot. Took a nice wrist shot, and then he actually dropped the gloves. And he, given his size, the other player, I don't even know if he could reach Lamoureux's head.
Just keeps backing up. Just keeps backing up. Just keeps going back.
That seems unfair.
Yeah. I mean, it was over pretty much as soon as it started. Lamoureux landed a couple punches, and it was almost like an adult fighting a toddler. I mean, the guy just couldn't reach him. And
we wouldn't condone that, though, would we?
Quick, so.
Tune in this week on the Utah Hockey Club.
Watch a grown man beat a 3-year-old.
Jeez,
that's pretty much what it looked like.
Wow. The hockey players are a different level of tough.
They are.
There's some, there's a lot to look at this roster, and there's a lot to look at the training camp roster is like 1,000 people on it. See, there's another one of these things that we start to find out a little bit more about how this thing works. The training camp roster is a lot of guys on there. What do they carry into the season? And and do they have certain times where they start paring it down, or is it basically just right before the first game? And I'm pretty sure they have, I don't know, how many guys you can put on the roster versus how many guys you can dress at every game. How does it work in the NHL?
Yeah, so a minimum of 20 guys on a roster. Usually most teams carry 23, to try to max it out. So that's the max you can hold. And to my knowledge, it should kind of start to dwindle down a little bit, but I think they carry pretty much that. There's 64 on this training camp roster.
That's a lot.
And I think for the most part, they'll carry those guys all the way through until, just before things really get going.
Is that just so they can kind of get the most experience out of every one of them, just kind of wring as much of that like actual get good looks, but then have them getting that experience as well?
Yeah, just giving them, getting as many eyes on these guys as possible from the front office and the staff, especially those younger prospects. It's going to be really interesting to see how, Lamoureux and Beaudois and TJ Ginla, amongst others, do. We've never seen these guys really play at an NHL level before, especially Tej, who missed out on the rookie face-off tournament. So it's going to be interesting to see, give these guys a couple weeks. How are they doing? Are they producing at a high level? Is it clear that they're close, or is it more obvious that, hey, this is going to be a 2 or 3 year process before these kids are ready? So that, as well as there's some position battles that I think are going to take pretty much the entire length of the camp to determine some final spots of who's going to be suiting up for this club every night. So, they should take pretty much that entire 2.5 week period before they know. I mean, they kind of know the skeleton for the most part, but there's a few spots that it's going to take that full 2 weeks.
Well, media day is tomorrow morning, bright and early, and then camp's Thursday, and then we've got a preseason game on Sunday, right? So we're full speed ahead. Mm-hmm. As training camp begins, you're going to go to media day tomorrow. You wrote on KSLSports.com the 3 burning questions ahead for Utah Hockey Club's inaugural training camp. What are those 3 questions that you identified that you think need to be answered?
Yeah, so first of all, kind of like we hit on, how are the rookies going to do? Lamoureux showed that he's got a lot of promise, that he's come a long way. The coaching staff spoke very highly of him, but how close is he? In my opinion, he's probably the prospect that has the best opportunity of seeing any NHL ice time this season, aside from Josh Doan, but I expect Josh to make that opening roster. So, strictly speaking, young prospects who will not make opening day roster, I think Lamoureux's got the best shot. So it'll be interesting to see if he can continue to carry that excellent play that he had over this past week into training camp. Same thing with Beaudois and Tej. Where are these guys in terms of NHL talent? Moving on, from there, I think it's going to be really important to know how are some of these young players on the roster going to perform this season. So they have the prospects that, are not going to really play with the team very much, but then they have some young guys like Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, Josh Doan, who are set to play this season. Where are these guys at? So a little bit of background on Cooley and Gunther. They both played with the team last year on the second and third line. Once Gunther was called up from the AHL about midway through the season, him and Cooley just ran away with it, and they combined for 79 points which was pretty good. But are they on pace to, break collectively 100 to 110 points? Which is, if they do, that's going to put this team in a really good spot to make the playoffs. So I'm interested to just kind of see, with a full season ahead of them together, how do they look? As we go into training camp, are they scoring a lot of the time when they're paired up? Are they creating opportunities? Do they look like they can really be dangerous at all times? And then as well, Josh Doan, is he ready to play a full 82 game season? Because last year he played just 11 games, but he scored 9 points. That's impressive. 9 points in 11 appearances, almost a point per game. I think it was 5 goals, 4 assists. Is he ready to play all 82 games? I think he is, but we'll see how that goes. And then transitioning into the last question, which has something to do, with Doan, who snags that final winger spot for this club? So they have there's been a lot of acquisitions, right? They brought in Sokolov and they signed Kyler Yamamoto to a PTO contract. And then they've got Doan, they've got Carcone, and then they've got Liam O'Brien. One of those dudes has got to take that spot. One of those players has got to cement himself as that final winger spot. So how's that going to go? Who's going to emerge? Do they go with Carcone, who tallied 29 points last season? A little bit more experience and has proven that, hey, I can contribute pretty often. Do you give Josh Doan his big break, or is it better to have Liam O'Brien, Spicy Tuna, filling that as more of an enforcer? Because you need enforcers in this league, right? If somebody's messing with Clayton Keller or Logan Cooley or Gunther or any of the guys, you need somebody who can call that player out on the other team and drop the gloves. And Liam O'Brien that's been his role with this team. So to me, that's kind of the biggest question, the biggest storyline to pay attention to in camp is we've got a collection about 5 or 6 wingers, but there's only one spot. So how's that going to go?
Let's go back to TJ Ginla because he's the highest draft pick, and I think the development stuff is interesting to be able to follow and go, okay, these guys, it's going to take a minute. Where's he going back to play, and what does a timeline look like? And if the team is not on the verge of making the playoffs, is that more likely that you'll see some playing time toward the end of the year? How do they kind of treat a rookie that they want to start working in but might not be totally ready for the league yet? How do they do that usually, and what do you think the future of TJ Ginla's playing is going to look like? Is that more of a year 2, year 3 situation? What are we seeing here?
Yeah, so as far as TJ goes, this big pool of prospects that the Utah Hockey Club has, I'd probably rank TJ number 1 or number 2 in terms of just talent, in terms of how good these guys are. So one of the top prospects, but he's young. This is his first year. I don't anticipate him making this roster, especially not the opening day roster. That would just be unbelievable. That would be, he's coming into training camp and he's scoring on every possession. He's, when they're scrimmaging, he's putting points on the board and he's holding his own, and his defense has come along. There's certain parts of his game that just are not NHL ready yet, and that's okay. So I anticipate him going back to the Kelowna Rockets which is a junior team in the Western Hockey League's Western Conference. He had a great season last year. I think he was up above 60 points. Teach really, it's crazy how quickly he rose up draft boards. This is a kid that people were not expecting to go in the first round. He was more in the second to third round, and then he had the best season of hockey in his career, which is what pushed him up into the first round and into the top 10. But it's going to take time. I'm very interested to see just how he does against NHL level talent, especially, Utah's got a really good defense now. They've got Sergachev and Marino and Ian Cole. These are veteran players that are very good at what they do. How does Teej play against those guys? But yeah, I expect anybody that has a chance is going to be Lamoureux. And the only way that he has a chance is if they see some injuries. If they're hurting for players and they just need to call somebody up, I don't anticipate that from the forwards. And so that lessens Teej's chance of later in the season being called up. That's how Josh Doan got called up. This team was out of a playoff race. They had some injuries. They wanted to test some guys, so they called up Doan, and he did great. I don't see that opportunity for TJ Ginla this year. So maybe next season, we'll see how he does. I anticipate him going back to the juniors. Let's see if he can replicate what he did, give his team 60, 70 points. See how he does in a playoff setting in the juniors, and then we'll see where he is next summer.
We are exactly 3 weeks away. 3 weeks from right now, we will be getting ready for an 8 p.m. Mountain start to the season. And for the franchise, Utah Hockey Club will take the ice for the first time in a regular season NHL game against the Chicago Blackhawks. I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm so fired up about it. And because of that, I was looking at the first month of the schedule, and I want to get your take on it. Is the first month of the schedule conducive to this team getting off to a hot start, or is this going to be a challenge?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge. They start off. It's good that they get their. I think they get the season opener at home, just to give Utah something to cheer about, get fans hooked on it. Hopefully, win that game, score some goals, and get people excited. But then you go on a 4-game road trip, and you've got to be good on the road. To start off, you play the Islanders and the Rangers, who are both decent teams, especially the Rangers. I think the Rangers might be a top 5 team in the league. And then the Devils are good, and so that first road trip is going to be tough. But then they catch kind of a break a little bit. They come home for looks like 5 games against teams that are beatable. Ottawa's beatable. San Jose should definitely be beatable. Calgary's beatable. And then their road. They have a couple road games that kind of lighten up with the Anaheim Ducks and the Los Angeles Kings. It's really more so in November and December where things get tough. You got a couple really long road trips. You're going to spend more games on the road than you are at home, and it's tough opponents. It's Boston, it's Pittsburgh, it's Toronto, it's Montreal, it's Las Vegas, it's Winnipeg, it's Nashville. This is tough. November is tough, and so they've got to figure out how to be good on the road. And if they can get through December with around a 500 road record and maybe a few games above 500 at home, that'll put them in a really good spot. I mean, generally the teams that are in a playoff position come December and January, they're really not shaking that much. So if they can put themselves in a good spot and just compete on the road, just don't get blown out, do as much as you can to be competitive, keep games close. And I expect them to do that. I think they're going to take a lot of teams by surprise. This was a team that was in a playoff position a season ago before they made all these defensive acquisitions. And so, you get Sergachev in there, you get Marino, Ian Cole, and you added a whole bunch of Stanley Cup champion talent, guys that have lifted the cup before. And that's going to bring a lot of value. And so, yeah, it's going to be tough. But I anticipate that they're going to do well. They're going to take some teams by surprise, and they're going to be competing early on, and hopefully putting themselves in a spot to clinch a playoff position down the stretch.
You weren't kidding about November. 4 home, 9 on the road, and those 9 are some of the best teams in the league.
That's what you sign up for, JJ.
Don't sleep on Winnipeg this year. That trip to Winnipeg is going to be tough. So, I mean, that's crazy. We're talking about trips to Winnipeg.
I don't even know. Honestly,
I love this. This is so awesome.
Okay, Cole, from a just absolute personal standpoint, the thing that you absolutely are the most excited about from a hockey fan perspective, not even just a guy who's covering the team.
Sure. Just in terms of road games, or just in terms of the
just
season,
in terms of the entire season,
the launch of this, everything that's about to take place. The whole thing that's starting up, the thing that you the kid Cole Bagley can't be contained in all this. What's the thing that you're most excited for?
The fact that the premier talent in the NHL is coming to Salt Lake City, and it's not some preseason matchup. It's not a Frozen Fury. These are NHL home games for a hockey club that belongs to the state of Utah and is going to become a part of this community. Growing up playing hockey, it wasn't a big community before. And, you'd have a lot of people who you tell them you played hockey, or in high school, I'd be like, hey, man, come to our hockey game tonight. And they'd be like, what? We have a hockey team? And I'd be like, yeah, that's why I'm missing all these teeth. But they'd come out to these games, and without fail, every single time, people would say, man, that was awesome. Hockey's amazing. It's fast and it's continuous, and there's big hits and there's amazing goals. It's so much better than watching football. So I'm just so excited that this phenomenal sport is going to be here in Utah, and people are going to get to watch it firsthand. And big names like that's what the kid in me is so excited to see the likes of Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin and so many. It's my childhood heroes that are still in the league are coming to Salt Lake, and people are going to be able to see them. So I hope this thing just spreads like a wildfire, and that pretty quickly Utah becomes a hockey town, a hockey state.
Let me, before we get out here, I just wanted to, how does hockey treat it? Is there a version of what we see with the NBA where they're like, oh no, we're taking some nights off and we're going through Utah, man. We're not playing that game.
Nope. Hockey players are different, man.
None of that.
Nope.
Gosh.
These guys are tough.
Yeah, by the way.
Hey, NBA guys. Let's take a little. You're on notice. Everybody else is playing. Come on, man.
Hockey's a real man sport, and people will break their legs. They'll break their jaw. They'll lose teeth in the middle of the game, and they're still out there because they play for the love of the game, and that's just what's so amazing about hockey.
Ovechkin and McDavid will be here in November in Salt Lake City at the Delta Center playing hockey, and unless their ACLs are gone, they're going to be playing. Their team
doesn't. They don't have a medical team that determines if Mr. Ovechkin is going to play tonight. Yeah, that's good.
It's up to him. So
there's no load management in the NHL, is what you're saying.
No, come and see those games because we don't know how much longer some of these great, all-time greats are going to be in the league anymore. Sidney Crosby's going into season 20. Jeez. Ovechkin's going into 21. I mean, I saw a video of Ovechkin today. The guy's like fully, all of his hair is white. He's looking quite a bit older, but he's still out there. Yeah, he's still good.
He's wily. Hockey notoriously for being as insanely, you can get beat up as much as anybody else in any sport, and it's one of the toughest sports on the planet. And yet, guys will have Yammer Yager careers, and you'll be like, man, these guys play forever. Cole Bagley, it's the start of no sleep season for you starting tomorrow. We got the media day tomorrow. We're going to get all that coverage on KSLSports.com. Follow Cole on X, and also find all those bylines that he's going to be writing up on this Utah Hockey Club on KSLSports.com. Cole, we appreciate it, man. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's always no sleep season around here. I've got 2 under the age of 4, so nothing new.
Oh, that's good.
But thanks, guys.
There you go, Cole Bagley.
Good stuff. Can't wait. Let's get it going.
Excited, man. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. When we do, I got a couple things going on here. We got a couple things brewing. When we do return, Utah State and the Mountain West, what's going on with what the latest looks like with the conference realignment and the dominoes still falling? The Ute preview show, by way of announcement, going to point you in the direction of being able to listen to that one. You can join Hans and Scotty 1 to 3 at their Ute preview show brought to you by Beehive Meals, proud meal partner of Utah Athletics. All right, we'll take the break. We'll come back. More to go. 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Aggies head east to Philadelphia for a big non-conference battle against Temple. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex. It is a Tuesday on the program. Utah State, the Mountain West, of course, last week taking a gut punch with the fearsome foursome that left.
That's quite a term for those teams.
Just that, they just rolled the dice. They bet on themselves, JJ.
A new juggernaut is born in the West.
The six-pack. The six-pack.
Huge 16.
Yeah, you got to get the numbers up. Hey, Pack 12 or whatever you are, get the numbers up. Let's go.
So many questions about this deal. So, you get to the heart of this.
I need to know because Air Force could be the next team that could be taking leave, but it is not to the Pac-12 or to the Pac-12 or Pac-6 or whatever they're going to be. Reportedly talking with the AAC. Well, I would come on.
Makes perfect sense.
Is Navy in the AAC?
Yes.
And Army is too, right?
Yes.
So all the service academies get together.
Makes perfect sense why they would do this.
Run the veer.
Do you know how much money it would cost Air Force to join the to join the Pac-12?
Pac-12. I love that. That should be their new thing. Hey, everybody. Join the Pac-12. The Pac-12.
Can't say it. I can't get it out.
Somebody out under a 12. Yeah, so Air Force looking at the AAC. I guess that makes sense from that standpoint. But
are they going to pay $40 million to join the Pac-12? What sense does that make? Just go to the AAC.
No, that was the whole thing. Is that buying teams to come into the into the Pac-12 ended last week. Because the buyouts now are going to be, the bill's going to be footed by the institutions. So if you want to buy your way into the Pac-12, fine. If you feel like the future's there and you feel like putting all that money up, fine. Do you think Utah State should make it a priority to gather that money up because I think you have to buy out for $17 million, right? And then that's not even, and then you probably have to take a little bit of a haircut on the TV deal, maybe at the very beginning.
Yeah, it's not.
So in the end, looking between like $30 and $40 million for you to beg your way into the Pac-12, that doesn't feel good.
For what? So they're joining the Pac-12 for another round of realignment that's going to start in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, but what's the Mountain West going to do? Are they going to be in the Big Sky?
UTEP, come on down.
No, please.
New Mexico State. Oh, I heard UTEP needs a travel partner.
Oh, my gosh.
FCS schools, come on down.
No.
Do you know how much it costs an FCS school now to make the transition?
Oh, I think it's like $4 million just to even
it's $5 million.
Just to think about it, yeah.
Just to make the move.
Ugh.
That's going to discourage a lot of teams from doing that. And if you're Montana State, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, why?
Yeah. I'm certain they had those institutions could.
Your buildings are packed. You got fans going crazy, and you're playing for championships every year. Why would you want to make that transition right now?
Group of 5 college football playoff possibilities, JJ.
I would rather play in the FCS playoffs than be in the group of 5 where you have nearly no prayer.
You could be playing Toledo one week, and you could go travel across the country and play Memphis the next. Come on.
And that's in conference.
Plus fill in the blank. Listen, the Montana schools, you're right. They've already got it. They've already got it figured out. Big fish in a small pond.
Absolutely.
Be that. All right. We'll take the break here. We'll come back. First and 12, that's a program that Mitch Harper and myself host every Sunday, 10 to noon on KSL News Radio and on the KSL Sports Zone. It's brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms, your favorite local brands. Macy's, happy shopping. Go download it wherever podcasts are found. You can get a full breakdown of all Big 12 action every week on a Sunday with First and 12 with Mitch Harper and myself. All right, we'll take the break. We'll come back around the corner. Let's talk about this Oklahoma State team and the possibility of this game having playoff implications already in week 4 of the season. Stay with us, 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Take the Zone with you wherever you go. Download the KSL Sports app to get your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? It's the first Big 12 battle for the Utes as they head to Stillwater for a showdown against Oklahoma State. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program. Our show brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. Go give it a shot today at the Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, or Associated Foods near you in the refrigerated section. There you go. JJ, we got to kick the hour off here with the cut. We always jump in here. Let's get it going. We have limited time in this front segment of the hour, so we'll get it going here. So let's jump right in here with the cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
When he's ready to go, he's going to be ready to go this week. We're expecting the same things as where he left off, even better. We're expecting the whole offense to rally around him, all guys to rally around him, and we're going to go out and get this thing.
Oh, the offense. I thought you said the office. I was like, what, you guys going to get behind Cam at the fax machine? We're all behind you, man, for this meeting. Yeah, the whole offense behind it. That was Dorian Singer. Here's the thing about this game against Oklahoma State. The more I think about it, the more I convince myself that that this game is. I mean, we already knew it was a big game, but I need you to understand from the Oklahoma State perspective, it's a killer schedule this week to next. They play Kansas State next week, and you go Utah to Kansas State, and I'm pretty sure Utah's schedule. It's not as dicey.
Well, they go from
they play Arizona
Oklahoma State to Arizona.
Yeah, but Arizona's between Arizona and Arizona State. Which
trying
one
to figure out who Arizona is.
Because right now you go to Arizona State, you go to Tempe. Now, good news is about that, they get a bye week right between that. So they get Arizona. Arizona's a trap game, man. I'm telling you. And by the way, Arizona State's a trap game because there's going to be this rivalry renewed situation. You think we're not going to beat that storyline to death when TCU comes to town on October 19th? So Utah's next 3 games are Oklahoma State, now unranked Arizona, maybe ranked Arizona State next week.
Stop it. Get out of here with that. No way.
I don't know. You know, we've seen weirder things happen. And then TCU on the 19th of October. So it's a wild 3 or 4 weeks here. But
oh, my gosh, it's very possible.
I told you.
Well, here we go. Okay. So
wait, who's there? Who's Arizona State play?
They go to Texas Tech on Saturday. Do they win in Lubbock?
It's two road trips in a row, like I said yesterday, to two middles of nowhere, Texas. So
they'll spend the night at Buc-ee's.
Yeah, but you know what? Hey, nice Buc-ee's draw. Hey, but here's the thing, though.
They'll stop by the fudge station.
Get me to the jerky stop. Kansas comes to Tempe the week after that. Or no, they get a bye week, and then they get Kansas. Then they come up to week. Or then they host Utah. Then they go to Cincinnati. That's actually pretty nice. That's not too bad a lifting, especially considering that Kansas right now is the one with their backs against the wall. The Birds have backs, technically?
Oh, yeah. That's where the wings are, Alex.
You don't go, well, man, that bird, it's hurting right here in the middle of his back. His bird back.
We have bird legs. We don't have bird backs.
Oh, one more birdie back. New Chili's commercial just about wings. All right.
Yeah, when you eat chicken, you eat what? You eat the
back.
You eat the breast.
Excuse you?
You eat the thigh.
Yeah.
And you eat the wings.
Yeah.
Do you eat the chicken back? Have you ever had chicken back before?
Oh my gosh! I'm opening a restaurant. It's just one.
It's there, but you gotta fry it.
It's gonna deal 100% in chicken backs because everybody else rejects them. It's tender. All right. So here's the deal. Saying all this, I'm going down a weird rabbit hole here.
Yeah,
with
where are you
schedules.
going with this? This is turning into a disaster.
All I keep thinking of is how this Oklahoma State game for Utah, and I know they take the opponents one game at a time, but Oklahoma State, hear me out here, has no idea what they're getting with Utah this weekend. They've never played them. I mean, when was the last time they played Oklahoma State? It was like 1945 or whatever. Yeah. Okay. So these teams have no idea what to expect from one another. In terms of who would be ready for this game more than somebody else, I have to give the edge to Utah. Have to. I know it's at Oklahoma State. Here's what Coach Kyle Whittingham said about opening up league play against one of the more difficult opponents in the entire conference.
Now it's time to get into conference play. Starts at Oklahoma State. Tough place to play. From what I hear, I've never been there. About the same size stadium that we have, so there's a lot of similarities between the two programs. Coach Gundy's done a great job there for a lot of years. Undefeated, 3-0, highly ranked, as are we, so should make for a good matchup. It'll be an intriguing start for us. First conference game, official conference game in the Big 12.
The only difference between Kalani and Kyle, because they both get pretty straightforward. You know, Kalani goes a little bit more off script, but Kalani would have said, "Oh, I'm friends with Mike Gundy. You know, we've been friends for a long time." Even if they haven't, because remember when he said that about Rhett Lashley? And Rhett Lashley was like, "I've actually only known him for like 18 months. We saw him at like a couple of Nike golf events."
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, Kalani is best friends with everybody. I'm really good friends with Coach Mike Gundy, you know. If it's a Nike school, Coach, he's friends with them. So maybe that's why Kyle Whittingham doesn't know all these coaches, because they're an Under Armour school. Nobody knows Under Armour schools. All right. Here's
Just
what
had a vision of Kyle Whittingham standing at an Under Armour conference like Will Smith in an empty room.
Right. There's nobody there. It's like 7 schools. Yeah, I don't even know who's a part of that. It's like for sure Maryland and Utah just hanging out. All right. Ollie Gordon, one of the best running backs in the country. Certainly the Doak Walker trophy in his room can tell you, attest a little bit to that. So here's what he said about taking on one of the better running backs they'll see all year.
Yeah, we're going to have to be good tacklers. He's a guy that breaks a lot of tackles. He's a big back. He's over 6 feet and over 220 pounds and just wears you out. I mean, he's kind of a bully back there. That's his style, and very rarely is the first guy going to stop his charge, but it's going to be a concerted effort by the whole front 7 to gang tackle and wrap up, and which we didn't do a good job of early in the game this past weekend, as we said, so we got a better job of that. But he's got all our respect, all our attention, and he's a guy that, he's one of the premier backs in the country. I don't know what more you can say.
That's one thing that you should be a little bit nervous about if you're a Utah fan, I think. The run stopping has not been as clockwork as we've seen in the past, JJ. And
Rasul Faison just went for 100.
Do you think they didn't look at that tape and go, oh, here's how we can attack this? Because I know that I think we talked about this yesterday too, because I know that the first quarter was, Coach Whittingham was like, everybody had a bad first quarter. The thing is Rasul Faison ran the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
He had 20 carries and ran for 118 or whatever it was, 19 carries for 119 yards or 120 yards. So, and that was across the entire game. There wasn't really a time that they were like, oh, we figured him out and we're shutting him down. So I'd be a little bit nervous. Plus, like I said, the weirdest development is that Alan Bowman is a top 10 quarterback currently, according to the stats. And what's really interesting about that is that they just never threw the ball that much with him last year. And so now he's having like some weird success.
How bad is Tulsa? Like, this is crazy. He was 24 of 31 for 396 yards, 5 touchdowns. His QBR was 96.8 against Tulsa.
Bye.
Here's a weird thing, though. Ollie Gordon, 17 carries, 41 yards against Tulsa for an average of 2.4 yards per carry.
Do you think every team is
keying on? The
keying
Doak Walker
on?
Award.
Yeah, but this is what every team is keying on in their film breakdown, right?
Can they do that, shut down Ollie Gordon, and then let Alan Bowman
cook? And let Alan Bowman cook.
I mean, Bryson Barnes cooked for a little bit on Saturday, right?
Yeah. They have.
This is weird. It's
I know.
So weird.
Doesn't it make you nervous?
Who
like a
is
little
Utah
bit,
right now?
I know. It makes you a little bit nervous because Alan Bowman was never in a conversation with somebody who could get some things done. He completed 24 passes, but had 396 yards. Almost 400 yards of passing on 24 completions. Insane. Coach Whittingham with that QBR, Alan Bowman QBR of 96, he's losing his mind. He wants that kid to transfer in here. For his 4th team, he's been eligible
to play. Got any NIL left for Alan Bowman?
Excuse me, sir. Can I have a bit more NIL? No, you can't. You can't go 9 years.
I fail to believe that Alan Bowman is suddenly Josh Allen.
No, I don't either, but I do think that
What do we make of Oklahoma State? Who are these guys?
They're a team that knows that every team is going to have Ollie Gordon circled on the film, and they're going to do everything else to just be like, fine. And then as soon as you stop keying on him, we're going to go to him again.
Ollie Gordon only had 49 yards rushing against Arkansas.
He's not having a year, man. He's not having a Doak Walker award-winning year.
They should have lost that game.
That's R.J. Harvey at UFC. That's the guy.
Jaquindon Jackson in the same game had 149 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
I don't know what to make of Oklahoma State. I don't know what to make of Utah right now.
Yeah.
This game is going to be so fascinating
weird
to watch because I don't think anything we've seen so far in this season is relevant to what we're going to see on Saturday. What do you go on here?
Yeah.
Utah's going to roll out Cam Rising after sitting the last 6 quarters.
Roll him out. It makes it sound like he's... Yeah, come on.
Well, they won't roll him out. He'll move forward in his Jazzy.
He'll have one of those scooters. Oh.
No, who is Utah right now?
No, I don't know.
Do we really not know? I mean,
we don't.
Is that kind of to Utah's advantage that we don't really know what they look like when they're clicking? Is Oklahoma State underperforming or have they overperformed?
Alan Bowman has. This is not what he is usually. Maybe
Right.
it is, though.
But Ollie Gordon is not what he's usually. So I'm confused.
Here's what Cam Rising had to say about getting ready for this one. Obviously, he's played in big environments, so Stillwater is just another big environment that he has to go to.
That's all you ever dreamed of as a kid, just playing in big-time football games. This is a great Oklahoma State team, so chomping at the bit to get out there and get this thing going finally.
He also brought up how he sat on the sidelines watching this game, and it kind of gave him a little bit of a different perspective on how to approach the game.
You kind of get to see who the leaders are and who the people that are going to step up in those certain type of situations. I think the team as a collective did a great job just rallying together, and that's why we were being so successful, especially late in the second quarter. But yeah, we got a good team that has top to bottom talent that can go out there and make plays, and we just got to make sure we're getting them the ball.
All right, there you go. All right, before we get out, guess what today is, JJ?
What?
It's Tuesday.
It is.
You know what that means? Taco Tuesday! Hey! You know what that means? The KSL Sports Zone giving away a $20 Cafe Rio gift card to you right now. Call in number 12 right now on a Tuesday, on a Taco Tuesday.
Free meal!
Oh, remember when they used to yell that?
Yeah.
Double meat!
Free meal!
801-575-9663. Call in number 12 gets a $20 Cafe Rio gift card for a...
Free meal!
There you go. Right on cue. Somebody lived in Provo in the early 2000s.
Yes, they did.
Call number
Poor
12.
student, free meal!
Call number 12, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-9663. You get $20 to Cafe Rio. Use it on Taco Tuesday, man. The tacos are $2.49. Let's go. Let's get it going. All right, we'll come back. We got more to go. We got our NFL Roundup next. We have our best and worst still coming up. You don't want to miss any of it. Stay here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. Best and worst brought to you by an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. Visit your Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Nobody knows service like Doug knows service. Hey, Doug. I got the vibrato down on that.
I like that.
Yeah. Give me that. I want to send you all day long. I just want to send you, because guess what popped up on my I think you should leave Instagram.
Which one?
When he starts choking at the dinner table.
Yes.
With Caleb Went there.
Yes.
And he's like, that's Caleb Went. He's like, the water doesn't stink. Why? It's regular water.
The water doesn't stink.
Okay. Inside jokes, I guess.
Yeah, go watch it. I think you should leave. Join us.
You could be a part of this.
Be in the club.
Just go.
It's worth it.
You knew I was going to sneak this story in, by the way, for our best. The NBA, of course, this just means we're one step closer. But sources have said, now Seattle and Vegas have been the two teams that have been
it's obvious, right?
Those are going to be your
Is there any
expansion
other
teams,
options?
Okay? But an expansion team means it's going to be a brand new team, new franchise, etc.
Yeah.
The NBA has worked out. Sources say that if the team were to return to Seattle, the Thunder would still cede the Seattle name, the Supersonics name, back to the team.
Good.
And all of the history of the team as well.
Thank you, as it should be.
As they've done in the Charlotte era with the Pelicans and the Charlotte Hornets.
Correct.
So they said, hey, and initially there was pushback from the Thunder ownership who was like, well, we bought a full franchise. Hey, Sam Perkins, hey, the glove, he's one of my favorite guys. They're like, what's his real name? I don't know, something, Gary something? Like,
get bent.
Come on, man.
Shove your oil money up your you-know-what. Get out of here with that. Give the Sonics back.
I know.
What belongs rightfully to them.
They're
Give
gonna
Seattle back what belongs to them.
So
we want the Sonics back.
We're this close.
All us old heads.
I know.
Can't get over the fact that the Sonics have been gone for almost 2 decades.
If he's caught up on his child support payments, bring Sean Kemp back.
Absolutely. Let him coach the team. I don't care. Just bring the Sonics back.
Bring Detlef back. Get Nate McMillan out there. I want all of the... Look, Nate McMillan could be the coach, frankly.
I'm going to go even further back. I want Jack Sikma.
Give me...
Bring Dennis Johnson back from the dead.
Listen. Hey, those are championship-winning guys. Let's go. Look, don't forget... What else comes back with Seattle or with from the Thunder is the 1978 World Championship. Okay,
that's right.
All right, maybe we
79,
never forget.
but who's counting?
79. Okay, but I'm just saying that's what the kind of stuff we remember. All right, the worst. I bring this up only because BYU fans know this feeling. Lane Kiffin, so after Wake Forest, I don't know if you know this, but Wake Forest got absolutely drubbed on Saturday.
Shocking.
At Wake Forest, right? So the Rebels hit the road. Ole Miss hit the road. Jackson Dart, who's keeps moving up, by the way, on the Heisman
I think he's
odds.
top 5 right now.
He's number 2.
There you go.
He's right behind.
I'm a voter. I'm watching.
Who's the number 1 guy?
Is it Carson Beck?
It's not
or did
Carson
he
Beck.
move?
Carson Beck's like 10 or like 7.
Who's number 1? Is it Hunter?
No, not Travis Hunter either.
I haven't seen the latest odds you're looking at. Which team?
It's slipping my mind. And now it's going to make me nuts. No. It's
there's a lot of guys that are off to good starts.
Might be Quinn Ewers. All I know is that
we're not going to give it to Arch Manning.
No, Arch Manning seriously is 11th on the list.
I believe it.
How stupid is that? Anyway,
I believe it.
Bottom line is,
first backup quarterback to win the Heisman.
They ran it up on them. They're averaging 58 points a game. I showed you yesterday. They're averaging 692 yards a game, just over 3 games, but it's a game. And Jackson Dart has only played in 2/3 of the quarters that they've played. So, bottom line is, Wake Forest immediately went to the administration of Ole Miss and said, hey, we're buying out of the game next year.
Oh, wow.
Which, of course, is going to be played. Oh, yeah. This is what I'm saying. This is why BYU fans can relate, because they've been bought out. How many times has Notre Dame like, oh, absolutely, we'll totally honor this. And then either
we won't come to Provo, but why don't you come out and enjoy a Shamrock series on us down in Las Vegas.
I'd like to go to Vegas. Yeah.
Got a pot of gold for you in Vegas.
Lane Kiffin, because he never forgets, and he acts like, he said, Wake Forest has now violated an unwritten rule after buying its way out, and we never forget. I thought it's funny.
So you're saying we're not going to see Ole Miss and Wake Forest play anytime soon?
We never forget. I don't know what that means. Like if he's saying,
do you care if Wake Forest wants off your schedule? Nobody cares about Wake Forest.
But now it does put them in a bit of a pinch because the return game's next year, and so they have to find an out-of-conference foe, and it'll probably end up being some garbage team that they're going to get dinged for because it's better to beat a
Go
bad
schedule
ACC
North
team.
Dakota State. They're better than Wake Forest.
But that's the thing is you schedule a Power 4 team with Wake Forest. Coming to your place, and you went to their place, and you beat them by 35 or 40, but it didn't matter. All right.
It's pretty ridiculous.
There's your best and worst. We'll take the break here.
You are the worst, Wake Forest. You are the worst.
We'll come back again next hour. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.